The opening scene of the documentary series begins without the glitter, pyrotechnics, or roaring stadium crowds that many viewers might expect. Instead, the camera fades in on a quiet room, warmly lit but simple, and Taylor Swift sits on a plain chair, facing the lens with a calm, steady expression. There is no grand entrance, no musical cue, nothing designed to dazzle. Her presence alone carries the moment. She folds her hands loosely in her lap, takes a measured breath, and then says something the audience likely does not anticipate. The most surprising thing that has ever happened to her was not a career milestone, an award, or a moment of unexpected artistic breakthrough. Instead, she explains that it was a guy who ended up being just a little disappointed when she couldn't meet him backstage one night. A guy who would later become far more significant than either of them could have guessed at the time. The documentary frames this figure not as a mysterious ex, not as a secret muse, and not as some behind-the-scenes character invented to fill in a narrative gap. He is introduced simply as himself, Travis Kelce, star tight end known for his layered personality, dynamic on the field, charismatic off of it, publicly confident, privately grounded. The documentary emphasizes that the person most responsible for what came next isn't a team of managers or a fateful coincidence, but Taylor herself. And to understand what she ultimately shares about Travis, the narrator says, "You have to go back to a specific evening in July 2023 when the entire story very nearly failed to begin at all. Arrowhead Stadium, usually vibrating with noise on game days, is silent that night. The field is covered in staging, lighting rigs, and the massive infrastructure that accompanies a stadium date on Taylor Swift's record-breaking tour. The Kansas City Chiefs are nowhere in sight. This night belongs to her and the tens of thousands of fans dressed in glitter, boots, and beaded bracelets." Travis, despite being one of the most identifiable athletes in America, is not on the turf but up in one of the suites. He is off the clock, not wearing pads or warming up, but simply watching the show like anyone else. The documentary paints a vivid picture of him, a Super Bowl champion, a podcast host, a fan favorite known for his humor and big-hearted energy, but for this night, he is simply a guy at a concert. The cameras cut to archival fan footage showing that he did, in fact, join the thousands of concertgoers who made friendship bracelets for the tour. Except, as the voiceover notes, one bracelet was special. Engraved discreetly onto it was his phone number. The idea was simple, almost sweet in its boldness. Enjoy the concert, see if there's a moment backstage, hand over the bracelet, and take a chance. The documentary clarifies that no such moment ever came. Taylor, who performs more than 40 songs in a single night, does not hold meet and greets during the tour. She protects her voice carefully, and those backstage areas are tightly structured. Travis, the man who routinely battles defenders in front of millions of viewers, never even gets close enough to offer a handshake. In a later episode of his podcast, he joked about being a little hurt that he didn't get to give her the bracelet. The documentary replays this clip, highlighting the humor in his tone but also the bravery in admitting it, announcing to the world that he had tried and failed to get Taylor Swift's attention. What changes everything, the documentary insists, is something no one saw at the time. Taylor watched the clip. Towards the end of the series, she finally reveals her reaction. She thought it was extremely metal, meaning bold, unembarrassed, and self-assured. No awkwardness, no desperate energy, no posturing. Just honesty wrapped in humor. And that, she says, is when their story truly began, not at the first Chiefs game she attended weeks later, not when the internet exploded with memes, and not when the podcast clip went viral. The beginning happened quietly, off camera, when she saw a man laugh about a missed opportunity rather than sulk over it. The documentary takes its time correcting what it calls the biggest misconception about their relationship, that they went from a single podcast joke to a full-blown public debut at a football game in one dramatic leap. Taylor explains that they had time, real, unpublicized, unphotographed time. Weeks that blurred into months where they spoke freely, explored whether their lives could intertwine, and asked the kinds of unglamorous questions that determine whether a relationship can survive two people who live on opposite ends of demanding schedules. While social media was busy making jokes about a bracelet that never found its intended recipient, Taylor and Travis were discussing logistics, compatibility, and the realities of dating when one person travels internationally and the other anchors his schedule to weekly games. The documentary says that the answer to those questions leads directly to the moment when the world first saw them together. The footage jumps ahead to September 2023. Arrowhead Stadium is loud again, but this time for a Chiefs game against the Bears. In the suite, cameras catch Taylor entering with Travis's mother, Donna, both smiling politely as they settle in. Viewers remember the broadcast for the brief glimpses of Taylor cheering, laughing, reacting to plays, but the documentary underscores something the audience did not know at the time. This was the first time Taylor met Travis's family in person. For the internet, it was a meme-worthy crossover. For the Kelce family, the documentary explains, it was a sincere family gathering with high stakes. From there, the timeline picks up speed. Taylor attends more games. Travis publicly thanks her for showing up and supporting him. Cameras catch her celebrating wins with his friends, while the documentary notes that she is careful never to take attention away from the team's accomplishments. Soon after, in one of the most replayed moments of the era, Travis travels to Argentina to see one of her tour dates. During the show, she adjusts a lyric "Karma is the guy on the Chiefs coming straight home to me" and the stadium erupts. Later, in the documentary, she laughs as she re-watches that moment and admits she absolutely planned the line change. It was deliberate, she says, a public acknowledgement of something that had already become very real in private. But the documentary insists that the true heart of the story is not in the clips that went viral, nor in the stadium glimpses, nor in the selfies that circulated online. It lies in the quiet moments, the ones that no one photographed. At one point in the new episode, Taylor calls this the most significant relationship of her life. She says it calmly, without theatrics, without the gloss of a marketing campaign. Given her reputation for writing extensively about love and heartbreak, the documentary treats the statement with gravity. It is not for a headline. It is not an offhand remark. It is part of an explanation about how different this relationship has been from the ones before it. Taylor describes past relationships as exercises in evasion, sneaking through back doors, using decoys, coordinating entrances and exits, and anxiously avoiding cameras. She emphasizes that the secrecy often overshadowed the relationship itself. With Travis, she says, the dynamic is reversed. From early on, they agreed they would not act as though being seen together was a scandal or a strategy. They wanted their lives to unfold naturally, without theatrics born from fear. The documentary features a brief appearance from her mother, Andrea Swift. Andrea's words are simple but meaningful. Travis brings joy into Taylor's life. For longtime fans of Taylor's journey, that single sentence lands with depth. It is not dramatic, but it is heartfelt. Meanwhile, Travis is shown in multiple clips speaking warmly about Taylor, calling her magical, admitting he feels lucky, and joking about the moments when he was put to work during the tour. One highlight includes him joining Taylor on stage in London, lifting her with the same confidence he displays on the field, but with a grin that suggests he is fully aware of the absurdity and sweetness of the moment. As the documentary nears its conclusion, it asks a question aloud: why is Taylor choosing to share all of this now, when she could have left the details unspoken? Her answer is clear. She knows that every gesture, every lyric, every sideline glance will be filmed, speculated upon, analyzed, and overinterpreted. She cannot control that cycle, she admits. But she can control the version of the story she tells. To ignore this relationship, she says, would feel dishonest. It is part of the same chapter as the tour, the re-records, the milestones, and the personal changes she has undergone. To pretend he is not part of that chapter, she explains, would be like ripping out pages from a book and hoping readers don't notice. And so the documentary closes the loop. The reason she considers this the most significant relationship of her life is not because of viral moments, memes, or public fascination. It is because, she says, for the first time in a long time, the public version and the private version feel aligned. The man who once made a bracelet with his phone number and joked about missing his chance actually showed up not as a symbol, not as a headline, but as a person. And the woman who has spent years writing songs about the complexities of love has discovered a version of it that makes sense even when the world is not looking. Their story, she says in the final scene, did not begin with perfection. It began with a missed opportunity, followed by long conversations no one heard, followed by a relationship that somehow thrived despite the spotlight. Now, after all of that, Taylor Swift sits before the camera for the first time in this new chapter and says plainly that this one is different. No twist, no scandal, just a relationship that surprised them, survived scrutiny, and grew into something solid enough that she is finally ready to share it.